There are 4 specific Racetams that when used can boost productivity, and they've made a massive difference for my energy levels in my business. And at the end of the video, you're going to learn which of the 4 is my personal favorite. I'm Michael Dougal, the nootropic reviewer. Make sure to click subscribe. And the Racetams have a pretty bad reputation in the world of cognition because of the fact that they are not naturally occurring substances. When you look at supplements like ashwagandha or rhodiola rosea, they're naturally occurring compounds. We can't say the same thing about the Racetams, and who knows how healthy these compounds will be for us long term. But fortunately, I've been using the Racetams for over a decade now. I feel that they've really helped me with my cognition. I don't really feel like I've built up any sort of tolerance to the compounds either, which is surprising. And I'll admit, I'm pretty sensitive to nootropic compounds, so I notice most of these working, but just be warned that these are very subtle nootropics. And if you're expecting like an instant energy pickup like you get from caffeine, then I want you to know that you may be disappointed when using the Racetams. It's just that if you are to stay consistent in using these supplements, you'll definitely see how they can help you long term. And so these are my favorite 4, and yes, I do use them every single day, and I'll also talk about the different dosage protocols as well as the benefits, and the list is in no specific order. And the very first Racetam that I take every single day, and it's one of my favorites, is Racetam. And this is the Racetam that most people are pretty familiar with, as Racetam has a lot of research backing the effectiveness of the compound, but the research is mostly done on elder populations or study subjects that have some sort of cognitive impairment. The major question is, will the Racetams be helpful for younger individuals like myself or like you that's physically active, that's healthy? Will they give you that extra 20% cognition boost that you may need in order to be your best self? And what I found when I started to use Racetam was that my memory was better, energy levels were better, my desire to actually get work done was better. And what I really like about Racetam is that it's the one Racetam you can say which is suitable for all different types of work. Whether you're in sales like myself, whether you're a student, I've actually used Racetam during a studying period, and I noticed that once I stopped using Racetam, my memory wasn't as good. Also, my learning retention and abilities to learn things quickly wasn't as strong as it was before. A lot of people like that Racetam may help with verbal fluency so that you're just more easily able to articulate your thoughts. I don't necessarily find it that strong with that, but it's more like a nootropic supplement which just makes you better cognitively on every types of work. And I know that may sound too good to be true, but again, I'm maybe one of the more fortunate individuals that doesn't notice anything bad when I take Racetam. Like, I don't experience any side effects. I notice the gradual improvement once I start using Racetam, and it doesn't hit you straight away like some other nootropics do. What I typically find is that after I use Racetam at a serving size of 1 gram 2 times per day, along with a choline source, my favorite being alpha GPC, I'll take alpha GPC at 150 milligrams with each of the servings of the Racetam. After staying consistent with that routine, making sure that you're disciplined enough to not miss one of your servings, you'll likely notice the compound working within a week's time, maybe 2 weeks. And the common side effects that come with using Racetam as a supplement would include headaches. Sometimes individuals are in a bad mood. Some individuals actually can't sleep when they use Racetam, although that's quite rare. And I would say most of the side effects are actually experienced because people use Racetam without a source of choline. My favorite, like I mentioned, is alpha GPC. I've talked about more in this video over here. And choline is a very important nutrient with all things related to cognition. And while the effects of Racetam are somewhat subtle, that's also one of the things that I like most about Racetam. I think we should all understand that the stronger the nootropic is, the stronger the side effects are in a lot of cases. And I always prefer those nootropic compounds that I would be comfortable using every day. Like, I like to think, if I'm not going to use it every single day, how healthy could it be for me long term? And while I can feel the benefits of Racetam as far as increasing my focus, I also don't feel that it makes me more anxious or it makes me more socially uncomfortable. I feel like everything's good and I'm just a better version of myself. And my second favorite Racetam would be Racetam, and this is actually probably one of the more popular Racetams. Some individuals even report that they only use Racetam by itself and they don't need any other Racetams. And that's because of the fact that Racetam really helps you socially. It helps you with verbal fluency. It also will help you to eliminate any sort of social anxiety that you have. So I look at Racetam like the social nootropic, the social Racetam, because it may not have some of the like cognitive improving effects that some of the other Racetams do, but it will make you get out of your comfort zone. Unfortunately, I don't feel like Racetam necessarily helps my motivation too much or improving my memory. So that's why I personally prefer using Racetam with some of the other Racetams at the same time, just to make everything a bit more balanced. And I like the fact that Racetam, it hits you a little bit quicker than Racetam. And let's face it, it's not easy using something like Racetam where you're just patiently waiting for the effects to kick in. I would use Racetam at a serving size of 500 milligrams twice a day. And again, I'll use it with the choline supplement. And I like the way it makes you feel. And it makes me feel like I'm working a little bit more smarter in the context of my business. And the first time I used Racetam, I actually did stack it with Racetam. So what happened was I was using Racetam for a considerable period, and then I used Racetam on top of it. And I wasn't really sure if Racetam was doing anything until I stopped using Racetam. And then I definitely noticed that it was a bit more challenging to be in conversations, and I was having a bit of social social anxiety in compared to the time when I was using Racetams. And that's the reality of nootropic supplements. Sometimes the best way for you to determine whether or not something is working is by discontinuing the use of it and notice if anything's different or not. And the side effects of Racetam, they're pretty similar to paracetam for most individuals, and the most common side effect that you will hear about online is people getting headaches. And the third Racetam is Racetam, which is a bit more stimulating in its nature. So I like the fact that when I use Racetam, I can actually feel it. I feel a bit more mentally stimulated. I feel eager to get to work. It feels a little bit like Noopep. Noopep is a very popular nootropic supplement that people use to boost focus. I've talked more about it in this video over here. And with Racetam, it may not help you necessarily socially. It may not help you with your memory, but what happens is you feel more alert. And that alertness that you feel, it's not the same sort of alertness you would experience with caffeine, because when you ingest caffeine, not only are you mentally stimulated, you're also physically stimulated. With Racetam, it's only like a mental stimulation, and at the same time, it brings you about some clear-mindedness. So because of the fact that it is a little bit stimulating, you may want to avoid using Racetam too close to bedtime. I personally like using it a couple times during the middle of the day, so I'll typically use it like 800 milligrams at 2 p.m. and then I'll use 800 milligrams at 6 p.m. Sometimes I'll use it in the morning, just depending on how fresh I feel, because in the morning I'm already ingesting a lot of caffeine. I don't really see any need to use Racetam, and I like the fact that with Racetam, it hits you a bit faster. It doesn't necessarily have that sort of like build-up effect that you need to be constantly taking it every single day for you to start noticing a benefit. But I want to remind you, we're all different, and especially when it comes to the Racetams, everybody notices different things, unfortunately, so the effects are highly variable. And this is probably one of the most discouraging things about the Racetams, that we're limited on research. Also, when you look at anecdotes online, it seems like everybody has different experiences with specific compounds. Some people notice compounds working, a lot of people don't notice the compounds working, or they experience side effects. I'm personally somebody that actually notices the best results when I mix the Racetams together, and I realize that that may make it a bit difficult for me to identify exactly what's working, but fortunately I've been using these Racetams long enough, and I've discontinued the use of them long enough for me to know what's been working for me. And the side effects of Racetam would be keeping you up at night, also feeling a bit irritable, getting the headaches like the other Racetams. And something interesting with this one is that unfortunately you will likely build some sort of tolerance to the compound. And at the same time, every time you ingest Racetam, it's mentally stimulating. You will be in a better mood. So during that period where you stop using Racetam, you're really going to miss that feeling, miss that mood boost. And I wouldn't say you feel withdrawals from the compound. It's more just that you have to be mindful that as you're using Racetam, the effects become less and less significant as you use the compound every single day. And the fourth Racetam is Racetam, which is a very interesting compound because this specific nootropic supplement, people can argue, is actually counterproductive. And that's because of the fact that when you use Racetam, you become very good at doing the boring, mundane, repetitive, constant work. And I remember when I first started using the compound, I was just able to put my head down, go to work, and it was absolutely effortless for me to avoid distractions. It was like I had my task at hand, nothing else mattered. Although at the same time, one of the issues with Racetam is that it's somewhat emotional blunting. And let's face it, if you're taking a nootropic supplement which can pretty much like double or maybe triple your levels of discipline, you will be somewhat unfunctional socially. It's somewhat likely that the compound is either like blunting your emotions or helping you to avoid them somehow. And so that may not always be the best thing for you. Like, especially if you're somebody that has meetings, you need to empathize with people, you need to have patience for people. You kind of forget about people's emotions because when you're using Racetam, it's like you don't have any. So before using Racetam, you may just want to ask yourself if it's appropriate for the sort of work that you're involved in. For me, when I started using Racetam, I noticed maybe it wasn't that helpful because I wasn't paid a salary. I was on a commission-based job, and so it wasn't important how many calls I necessarily made or how many sales meetings that I went on. What was important was my conversion, and I felt that Racetam was sort of making me too robotic and too boring to really be able to convert like I typically do. And the common serving size of Racetam is 300 milligrams. Some individuals use it only once a day. I actually prefer using it twice a day during the periods where I'm using Racetam. I'm using it now, for example. I like the effects. It doesn't necessarily boost my mood. It more so just helps me to have the discipline to stay constant with my schedule. And of the 4 Racetams, my personal favorite would be Racetam. I feel like I can use Racetam with any other supplement. And I also feel that Racetam helps me no matter what work I'm involved in, although I can't say that about the other Racetams. And I'd love to know your personal favorite in the comment section below. Do subscribe if you enjoyed the video. If you want to chat with me one-on-one, you can message me on Patreon, and be sure to visit our Discord server where we have a 24/7 chat room. We're having a whole lot of fun. I thank you for your support and look forward to seeing you next time.